3D Wolf Howling at the Moon Glow-in-the-Dark Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish.
Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be making a 3D wolf howling at the moon, and the moon is glow in the dark, so in the dark you can still see that, and then you can see just a little bit of the outline of the silhouette of the wolf as well, which is just cool because then sometimes things that glow in the dark, you put them in the dark and it's like, okay, you can tell it's glowing, but it's just a blob, who knows what that actually is. That's going to happen, but you can still get a little bit of the wolfiness in there, which I like. So I hope you like this, and don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is sculpt out a white base for your moon. So just right below the cuticle, add a white circle, and you could do this all the way up to your cuticle. The issue I would have with that is that it's a couple layers thick, and so you might have an issue blending that down to your cuticle nice and thin. So I would just bring it down just a little bit from the cuticle, and then dip a bead of clear acrylic into some glow-in-the-dark powder and apply that over the top of your moon just to give it that glow element, and then fill in around the moon with a dark, bright, sparkly blue. Just fill in up and around that, and if some does get on top of the moon, that's okay, because we're going to be filing it off right now. So just really carefully with an e-file, file around it. Don't file it too much because you don't want to file through the clear acrylic and into that glow powder as I did, because then that's just going to make it not quite as easy to see and use. And it just, I don't know. It's preferable not to do it. It's not as big of a deal as some things because the glow powder is not like glitter that it's gonna get messed up, but I don't know, it's just better if you don't. So then encase the nail with a layer of clear acrylic, and at this point then you're going to fill in that area that you removed with when you filed it before, but this time really make sure that you don't file through it into the glow powder, because that's going to cause trouble and you're going to have to fix it again. And so I'm just going to be filing it with my e-file to bring it into shape and make sure that everything looks nice and good. And like I said, if you do file into that glow powder, it's almost like a little cap of acrylic and it just sort of pops off, so it's easy to do, and you just have to recover it up and it's fine. So then apply a layer of gel sealer and cure it. So I'm now going to be sculpting out my wolf. So I began with white acrylic, and I'm going to be first sculpting out his nose and like the top of his mouth there. So where I just pressed my brush in and some of that blue shows through, that's going to be the inside of his mouth, and then that top little bit of white that's hard to see against the white moon is where his nose will be, and then add like his forehead area, and then I'm going to be building up his lower jaw. So just build that like that. I know it's so weird looking at this now because it's sort of abstract blob of acrylic, but I do promise you it turns into a wolf. And so I also built up like his neck area and then the back of his head, and now I'm going to be adding more acrylic to his snout area. So there's that first bead, really making sure I leave that inside of his mouth without acrylic so that that does go in, and then add more acrylic to his lower jaw just like that, and then more acrylic just all around, just to make sure that the white is nice and opaque and that it doesn't really show through. But then with gray acrylic, I'm going to be darkening up like the back of his head and a little bit on his neck. That's very wet gray acrylic so that it blends out nicely, it's thin, it's not going to get too clunky, and you can spread it easily. So make sure that that acrylic is really quite monomery. And then with black acrylic, I'm going to be adding his nose, so sort of add the nose and then pull it down and pull it out. So pull it towards his mouth and then towards where his eye is going to be. And then add a little bit of that black acrylic on his chin and just sort of blend that out. Once again, really, really wet acrylic. And then also put black acrylic inside his mouth. So where that indent was, we're just going to fill that in, which is really easy because it's not going to go anywhere because it's within the indent. And then with white acrylic, I'm going to be adding a little bit more to his ear. So I'm going to build that up a little bit with the white and sort of pull my brush through the inside of where the ear will be. And then with just a touch of black acrylic, I'm going to be filling in his ear just like that, just with a little tiny bit. Once again, very wet acrylic. So now with acrylic paint, and this is diluted, I'm going to be doing highlights. And since he's being lit from behind with the moon, you're going to want to highlight that side. So like the side of his face, you're going to want to highlight his nose, around his mouth, his ear, because he's being backlit, which looks really cool, but it's kind of interesting to paint if you've never done that before. And then I just put some little dashed lines for hair texture all around him, and then with black paint, I'm going to be adding his eye. And then just a couple little bit more hair details all around him, focusing more on like the center of the wolf instead of on the edges, because once again, that's where he's going to be backlit. And then adding just a little bit more to his eye, little more hairs here and there, just like that, make him nice and fluffy. And then a couple little dots for where his whiskers would be on his cheek and on his chin. And then apply matte top coat over the wolf. And that is it. So I hope you like this design, and I know that my family, we absolutely love wolves. my grandfather loved wolves, and one of my nephews loves wolves as well, so I really had fun making this, and I have drawn them in the past. There's a video on my art channel drawing pretty much the same image with graphite. So if you like wolves, I'll put a link to that in the description box as well. So I hope you enjoyed this and share recreations with me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!